According to UNDP Project Access to Justice Survey report in 2019, almost half of the population of Fiji had to deal with one or more serious legal problems in the previous 4 years. In that report, it states that one-third of the Fijians that have experienced legal problems did not look for information from established and formal sources simply because they feel that their problems are not that important. Section 15 of the 2013 Constitution states that the state must provide access to courts or tribunals and proper information to the public. Fiji is also a party to the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, and also a party to the Convention of the Rights of a Child, CRC. The state, as a duty bearer, has a duty to ensure that proper legal information reaches the most vulnerable groups of our society. That is, women, children, and people living with disability. We are Group 8, and in this video we will talk about why the insufficient legal awareness poses a barrier to access to justice in Fiji for domestic violence victims.
So any government's key role is to raise awareness on laws that are passed. So for domestic violence legislation in the countries, it's the role of government or the lead ministry to raise awareness with communities. What needs to be done better is this awareness needs to be made simple, accessible for people in communities so that survivors understand what the law is about, what is there to assist them, and who they can go to for help.
The government initiative through the Ministry of Women in 2012, in conjunction with the Fiji Police Force, DPP, Legal Aid, and the Judiciary, conducted capacity building on legal literacy in rural and remote areas. The training complements zero-tolerance, violence-free community leaders and religion organizations to work together and other relevant agencies in creating and promoting free violence community. Similarly, the same initiative is also undergoing under the Fiji Reach project implemented by UNDP Pacific Office in Fiji, collaborating with Ministry of Women and Legal Aid. Conduct awareness, raising sessions on the social, economic, and legal rights, and provide direct access to the services associated with these rights despite the remote locations and distance, and focus on domestic violence, child abuse, and other psychological issues.
Now it's one thing to talk about domestic violence, quite another to talk about the laws surrounding domestic violence, and I think therein lies a huge gap in the community education programs that we have, that there are not enough organizations and people who are able to talk on the subject of the laws around gender-based violence. And it's not just a general overview of the laws on domestic violence or on the Family Law Act. I think that there is a lack of organizations and people who can give you the basics around what the procedures are, what kind of information you need to know before you go to court, what kind of applications to make, and what to expect from the courts when you go and file these applications. Yes, and I believe that knowledge is power. So long as we have the awareness going around legal literacy, and we're teaching the community about what the expectations are when they go to court and what the procedures are, I feel that there will be a lot more people accessing the justice system.
I want to highlight few challenges faced by domestic violence victims living in the maritime zone and remote areas. In accessibility of justice system, access to justice and provide updated information on legal needs and services to the vulnerable. And domestic violence victims are unable to access to justice system because they live in far away and cannot afford the travel cost. Second challenge is the lack of service delivery for judiciary department by reviewing courts forms with a view to simplify the form and assist clients to fill the court form. Thirdly, language barrier by domestic violence victims afraid to the informal justice system. Do they see it is a foreign and therefore something that they do not access?
Fiji is very fortunate to have a very active CSO community that creates and raises awareness on domestic violence issues around Fiji. They have, over the decades, held our government accountable to our laws and our international treaty commitments. However, there is still a huge gap in the level of legal awareness, especially to the vulnerable communities in Fiji. In addition, whilst interviewing and researching on this topic, our group have come up with 3 recommendations to create more legal awareness around Fiji. The first recommendation is that DV legislations, court forms, and court procedures need to be simplified and socialized throughout Fiji, especially to those in the remote and maritime areas of Fiji. Our second recommendation is that there needs to be greater multi-sectoral coordination and collaboration among relevant stakeholders, including the judiciary and respective line ministries in government, to increase the penetration rate of legal literacy. And our last recommendation, because of the pervasiveness of domestic violence in Fiji, there needs to be a greater level of legal literacy education as part of the school curriculum in all levels of education in Fiji. Asenaca.